Returning to work after maternity leave can be one of the hardest things. I can tell you, and I can speak for myself, it was the most difficult thing that I've ever done. When you have to return to work, the most important thing is having a childcare provider that you 100% trust and feel comfortable with leaving your child with. If you don't have this trusting relationship with your childcare provider, it's not going to work out. If you're constantly stressed out while you're at work and wondering what your child is doing or what the childcare provider is doing with your child while you're working, then it's probably not a good fit. There are so many childcare providers out there, and there are usually resources that can help pair you with someone or some place that is going to be a good fit for your family. If you can ease your child into the transition, that would be the best thing for you and your baby. A lot of families will find a place that the parent can go with the child for just a couple hours just to visit a couple times a week. And then the parents will drop the baby off for a couple hours a week before they go back to work. So they're home, they're available, and the baby is just kind of getting their feet wet in a new environment. Once the parent has to go back to work, the baby feels good about being in a new environment, and the parent feels good about the baby being there. So if you can ease into a daycare experience, that's going to be the best thing for you. But I know that not every family can do that, so don't stress if you can't. Everyone will adjust eventually. If you are exclusively breastfeeding and you have to pump at work, make sure ahead of time that you contact your employer and talk to them about your pumping options. You need to make sure that there is not only somewhere for you to pump, but also somewhere for you to safely store your pumped breast milk. If this is possible, it would be a really good thing to meet up with your boss or coworkers outside of work before you go back. Maybe giving yourself a week or two before going back and talking to some people that work in your office or wherever you might work and ask them like what changes have happened, what can you expect going back, is there anything different, will there be any surprises, what do I need to know? It might even also be worth asking your employer if there's any flexibility in your schedule. Especially in today's workplace environment, a lot of people are able to work from home. So if there's any availability for you to work a half day in the office and a half day at home, maybe once a week, or maybe working 1 day a week or 2 days a week at home and then 3 days a week in the office, if you have that flexibility, it may be worth asking if that's something that you can do so that your baby doesn't have to be in daycare 5 days a week. Another thing you're going to want to think about is freezer meals. I know this is probably not what you were thinking I was going to say, but when you get out of work and you need to go pick up your baby at daycare and then get home and then make dinner, and then your baby probably needs to go to bed early because they didn't sleep as great at daycare, you're going to be overwhelmed. So do yourself a favor, have some freezer meals already prepared, so all you need to do is pop it in the oven, or have some crock pot meals that you get together in the morning and let it cook during the day while you're at work, and then you come home to a house smelling of glorious dinner and all you need to do is eat. It's going to take a lot of stress off your back, but if you can't do that, you at least want a meal plan for 3 days a week, and maybe a couple of those days you can make extra so you can have leftovers or lunch for the next day. I probably don't have to tell you all of this. You probably already know all of this, but I just wanted to remind you that during this time of getting home from work and daycare, and if you have to give a bath and get the baby to sleep, all the things, just take one stressful thing off your plate, literally your plate, and have dinner planned before you go to work. Now, if you hire a nanny, that's a little bit different because you'll probably be able to have more communication with your nanny, especially throughout the day, than you might a daycare center. So whatever you're using to track your baby's sleep that we talked about earlier in the course, make sure that your nanny has access to that. Having something like the Tally Baby Tracker is a great tool for somebody like a nanny to use, because when they're coming to your house and they're tracking all of these things and you can actually see in real time on your app, you can communicate with the nanny what needs to happen next, or they can ask you questions and you can just log into the app and see what exactly is going on. I know that not everybody can afford a nanny, especially with the prices out there today. It is insane, but if you can hire a nanny, your baby's sleep is probably going to be better than it would be if your child were in a daycare facility. And that is not to say anything bad about daycare facilities. There are great things to say about socializing and having the education that teachers at a daycare center may be providing for your child, as opposed to a nanny who might only be with one-on-one with your child. There's pros and cons to both. So make sure you weigh those options and see what is the best fit for your family. But every family is different, and do not ever feel bad for your choices.